Images of German-made Leopard tanks preparing for battle with the Russian army in the snowy steppes of Donbas have been released. These tanks are increasingly being used by the Ukrainian army. Ukraine has achieved considerable success in operations against the Russian army thanks to these tanks. Germany's decision to send Leopard main battle tanks to Ukraine was not made lightly, as lawmakers deliberated for months. But in early 2023, Berlin finally agreed to allow the transfer of 88 Leopard 1 and 80 advanced Leopard 2 tanks to the war-torn nation. The Leopard 2 is a German-manufactured main battle tank with a range of about 500 kilometers. It first came into service in 1979 and has a top speed of 68 kilometers per hour. Equipped with a 120mm smoothbore gun as its main armament, it is also armed with 2 coaxial light machine guns. As well as being used by the German military, Leopard 2 has been in wide service in Europe, with more than a dozen countries using the tank, as well as a number of other countries including Canada. The tanks have been deployed in Kosovo, Bosnia, Afghanistan and Syria by Turkey, where several were lost to anti-tank missiles. Members of the Ukrainian Army's Azov Brigade could be seen using newly arrived howitzers on the front line in the Donetsk region on Thursday, firing towards advancing Russian troops near the town of Toretsk. This howitzer can reach targets that we couldn't reach before, explained Vorzel, a commander of one of the Czech-made Dita 155mm self-propelled howitzers being used. According to Associated Press, the deployment of the howitzers reflects Ukraine's ongoing efforts to modernize its artillery and fend off Russian aggression. Yet with Russia continuing to make incremental advances in the Donetsk region, Vorzel said more weapons were urgently needed. If there are more of these weapons, and the weather allows in the spring and summer, and reconnaissance and drones fly more actively, then we will be able to work more effectively and destroy more of their artillery equipment in their rear, he said. Vorzel, who has been fighting since the start of the full-scale invasion and saw his hometown occupied, said the situation was very difficult but that they had no choice but to continue to fight. We just have to keep fighting, keep deterring them, keep destroying them, until they come to the point that there is no point in fighting us anymore. When they themselves get the idea that there is no point, then we can sit down at some negotiating table, he said. Vorzel said his biggest dream was to return to his wife and daughter, but added, "We understand what we are doing here and continue to do it." The Azov Brigade is among Ukraine's most effective and popular fighting units, but it has been dogged by its origins as a volunteer battalion that drew fighters from far-right circles and criticism for some of its tactics. The current members of the Azov Brigade, which has been absorbed into Ukraine's National Guard as the 12th Special Forces Brigade, reject accusations of extremism and any ties with far-right movements.
на машині. Тобто для того, щоб там камера заднього виду, бокового виду, камера. І ще один монітор третій, це повністю вже монітор керування всіх датчиків. Ми поводили, можна подивитися, як на мапі. Ця гармата, вона може діставати до тих цілей, коли, наприклад, ми до цього не могли діставати. Ну, це ж непоганий результат. Якщо такої зброї буде більше, і, в принципі, погода буде дозволяти вже, наприклад, там, в весінній період, у літній період, коли розвідка і дрони будуть літати активніше, то ми зможемо просто ефективніше працювати і в більшій кількості по їхніх тилах, розносити їхні артилерійські орудія, наприклад, розносити їхні якісь склади, може якісь там командні пункти там, чи ще щось. Тобто, треба більше такої зброї. Просто треба продовжувати воювати, продовжувати їх стримувати, продовжувати їх знищувати, допоки вони не прийдуть до того, що немає сенсу з нами далі воювати, треба щось закінчувати. Коли до них самих дійде ця ідея, що немає сенсу, то тоді можна сідати за якийсь стіл переговорів. Поки вони продовжують тиснути, поки в їх планах захоплювати наші міста, знищувати наші міста, вбивати наших цивільних, вбивати людей. То, що вони зараз творять по Херсону, по Ніколаєву, коли вони просто FPV-шками полюють за цивільними автомобілями, коли вони скидають на цивільних, вбивають їх просто в мирних містах, скажімо так, навіть не прифронтових. Це ж жах. У мене і дитина, і дружина, звісно, хочеться і додому приїхати, подивитися на рідних, і частіше бувати вдома, але така ситуація. А так, в принципі, втоми немає, тобто ми продовжуємо працювати. Так, якщо в загальному взяти, то все одно продовжуємо працювати, ми розуміємо, що ми тут робимо, і продовжуємо робити.
Russian troops near Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk region are actively using the pipes of the Seversky-Donetsk-Donbas Canal to accumulate troops there under cover of fog to break through the city's defenses. As for the situation in Chasiv Yar, the enemy is actively using the pipes of the Seversky-Donetsk Canal to take cover during bad weather. Now in the Donetsk region we often see fog in the morning, and the enemy is actively using this period of time to accumulate in these pipes, and then, if possible, move deeper into the city in the morning or at night, said Speaker of the OTG, Lugansk, Dmitry Zaporizets. According to the speaker, Ukrainian UAV operators are recording the movement of enemy troops and are trying to strike them. Zaporizets noted that the Ukrainian positions near Chasiv Yar are becoming fewer and fewer, but the city is still held by the Ukrainian armed forces. The enemy is present everywhere and is looking for ways to penetrate the city under cover of bad weather. In the period 04-08 January 2025, the defense forces of Ukraine recorded enemy activity in the area of pipes of the Seversky-Donetsk channel. On January 4th, the movement of more than 100 occupants was recorded. According to the available information, they were installed in the collector for future storm operations in the direction of Vremeny Yar. On January 9th, an airstrike was carried out at the enemy's concentration point. The opponent suffered losses, probably up to 100 people. During 2 days after the impact, there was no movement near the pipes and the collector. On January 21st, the occupiers organized a fire in the collector, probably in order to hide the traces of the destruction of such a large number of personnel and to avoid evacuation measures. The smoke and fire continued for about 5 hours.